Hello, good evening. Welcome. This is Ghana Tonight. We're live from Mani Yusabata, Desawe Kanda, also live on TV3 Ghana on Facebook and on DSTV channel 279. We're all across the world on 3news.com. I'm Alfred Ocansey. Tonight, following the address by President John Dramani Mahama on the progress of Operation Recover or Loot, Ghanaians wait with bated breath, hopeful for swift convictions and recoveries. But there are some significant concerns. It's a matter we're getting to shortly. Stay with us here on Ghana Tonight. Also, in politics tonight, the NPP flag bearer hopefuls, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and Kennedy Japan clash over what truly led to the party's colossal loss or defeat in the 2024 presidential election. Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia insists he was not to blame. He's not the fault of this defeat. Tonight, stay with us. We're getting to it. Also, labor unions are throwing their weight behind calls for a review of the single spine pay policy following growing concerns that it leaves public sector employees worse off. The details of exactly what the way forward should be in terms of proposals for a possible review. You are an integral part of the conversation. As always, let's hear from you. The hashtag we're using is Ghana Tonight on Facebook and on X. Let's get talking. Let's settle for Ghana Briefs.
Former Chief Justice Sophia Kufu has added her voice to the heated national conversation on illegal mining, popularly known as Galamsey. Reacting to President John Mahama's refusal to declare a state of emergency in affected areas, she urged Ghanaians to give the president the benefit of the doubt, stressing that his assurance to rely on existing laws to curb the menace deserves time and support.
There are measures that have been put in place. Yeah, so we wait to see how those measures pan out. For all you know, those measures will begin to roll back or halt and then begin to roll back the menace. So the benefit of the doubt, isn't that what it should be?
The minority leader Alexander Apenyo-Marking has denounced the removal of Chief Justice Gertrude Tokonu, describing it a vicious political decision. He also condemned the use of law enforcement agencies to arrest and detain members of the past government with onerous bail conditions.
If you are investigating someone, you ask the person to report and he reports. You don't just handcuff the person when he has voluntarily come to you for investigation and then you say, I have put a bail bond of say 50,000 on you, look for property before I release you. These are some of the challenges that we believe we can improve upon.
Former Attorney General and Minister for Justice Godfred Yeboah-Adame has condemned what he describes as intolerance of free speech under the Mahama administration following the arrest of NPP Bono Regional Chairman Kwame Bafo, also known as Abronye. Abronye has been charged with false publication and offensive conduct and has been remanded into police custody following comments he allegedly made against the IGP, Christian Tete Yohunu.
There ought to be tolerance for free speech, do you understand? And the level of intolerance of this administration is very reprehensible. They don't want to condone the democracy. That if the person says something that at least we should find offensive, then we quickly deploy the criminal justice system to pick the person up and lump the person in the custody and all that.
The leadership of the Kusasi and Mamprusi communities have signed a formal pact committing to end the long-standing ethnic tensions that recently turned deadly. The pact is aimed at preventing a spillover of the Baku conflict in the streets of Kumasi.
We are all happy that they agree to live together and also try to also give early warning signs when they see signs about some of the speculation. Because one thing about conflict is about perception and fear and speculation. These are the things that they are going to help the security to deal with it, so that going forward you can live peacefully in the marketplace, in the mosque.
Organized Labour has backed calls by President Mahama to review the single spine pay policy without delay. According to Labour, the current state of the salary structure has made workers worse off, with some earning as low as 400 cedis and inadequate pension benefits.
People go to the university, do the same program. They have the same value. On the spine, the moment they come out, one is put on 18 and other one put on 16. How do you explain this one?
It is so serious that, my brother, I can tell you that you go to an institution, and I'll mention Lands Commission, for instance, where you have two people, same qualification, employed at the same time, doing the same work. One is being paid an allowance for doing that work. The other is denied.
And the most painful part of that is that the pensioner or a worker who goes on pension, his pension is based on the salary, his last 3-year best salary. And for the average, for the past 3 years, those who are retiring now, average pensioner takes home less than 400 Ghana. It is sometimes when you see your members going home to die.
Oh, there's more news on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. This is Ghana Tonight. We're live on 3FM 92.7 and also on TV3 Ghana on Facebook and on DSTV channel 279. We're all across the world on 3news.com. We're also on TV3 on YouTube. Also on 3 News as well on YouTube, so you can also follow us there. So it's probably brought to you by Flamingo Paint, Simply Superior, Sasso and Spray and Coil Kumtum Preco. Coming up next here on Ghana Tonight, the NPP flag bearer race is heating up by the day. But who really sank the party in the 2024 presidential election? Well, guess what? Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is saying that it was not him. He's not to blame for this. He's not saying this only in his words, in his opinion, but he references the Professor Aaron Michael Quay committee, fact-finding committee's report, which we're yet to see the full details, but he says, based on what he's privy to in that report, the report's fact-finding mission concluded that he is not to blame. And he also references the Osei Mensah Bonsu committee report. That also clears him of any wrongdoing, any blame whatsoever for the party's colossal loss and that monumental defeat in the 2024 presidential election. So the question still remains, who is to blame? Who should carry the liability of the party's performance in the 2024 presidential election? Because the flag bearer for that election says the fact-finding committee that was commissioned by the party says he's clean, he's not to blame for what happened to the party, losing by over 1.7 million votes. Says that's not him. This is what Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia said. Take a listen. We'll try to recall that, but we'll transcribe that in text. We'll put it on the screen right now. Follow me closely, right? Let's put it on the screen. This is it. He says it is clear that Dr. Bawumia, the presidential candidate, this was not the reason we, MPP, lost the elections. It was not because of Dr. Bawumia. The evidence is clear. And this has nothing to do with the fact that I am a Muslim or from the north. That is not part of it. That's what Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia said. And we're going to play that audio to you shortly. I conceded the election on Sunday, And by Monday, I started hearing the gossip. And what was this gossip? First, the gossips claimed that Christians did not vote for Dr. Bawumia because he is a Muslim. I said, don't believe this. If you look carefully, the MPP went into the primaries with 10 candidates. 9 were Christians, and I was the only Muslim among them. If NPP did not like Muslims, will they have elected me as their flag bearer? Question. They wouldn't have, because they had 9 other options, but I was the only one they chose, securing 61% of the votes. Essentially, this shows clearly that we do not want selectiveness in the NPP. The party itself has demonstrated that. That's Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia's words in there, clearly indicating. In fact, continuously you hear the reference to the religious and tribal bigotry in there. So how, really, if that's pronounced that much in this NPP flag bearer race, is one conversation we will have in the coming days. But take a listen to Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, on what I just showed to you in words. This is it. Take a listen.
They are clear. I say, Dr. Bawumia, the presidential candidate, and yet the fault said they lose the election. It is not because of Dr. Bawumia. It's the whole black and white, and yes, of Israel, and I say, we cramoni. And they say, and come home. Sana, Chairman Sabon's report, also, Omoye wa Ashanti, the same conclusion. Conrad Adenauer Foundation, the same conclusion. So, conclusion, no, let's say, Dr. Bawumia was not at fault. But, Chinchina, Kongonsa for no, almost Dr. Bawumia, and then fault. Kongonsa no, I'm more to Dino. I'm more to Pa. Now, the kind, me concede the election no Sunday. By Monday, I start to meet concern. The kind almost say Christopher Oman to a Mac Bawumia because Bawumia Kraboni. Samoti. Now, Usha, let me say, wait there. Ninjindi, because Usha, you call primaries, MPP, and yes, sir. Na call primaries no MPP ye nipa 10 na call 9 Christopher memma na me Kramoni na nka MPP for omon Bekramo for anka omobe yimi anka omo yimi because mo 9 other choices but me na yede ma me 61% out of the 10 na omo ma me 7 call to Francano emma MPP yep pe eyimo e wo MPP MPP, Chile say you pay more MPP. And sa MPP, the same MPP, best hand the chibium, Akoka say, we are Kramoni, and the end to power. And faster. And sa propaganda, Minjindi. Na Usha Swa, data noa, Anka Usha, Christopher, Omoya parliamentary candidates, Emma MPP, Omoya 236 out of the 276. Constituencies. 236. Anka a religious voter. Say Anka Wonyina Benya vote actually Dr. Bawumia. Say the BA Kramoniti. But Ambanosa, Usha data no more. Mina menya votes actually no bebre. Yanyasa, Omubo modern pa Emma. Ye MPs no. Omubo modern pa Emma. Many constituencies. Maybe Benya votes essing Omo, especially Ashanti Bo. Raf, Ubuame pa, Minya votes, essing Raf, Ewa Bakwaya.
Well, so that's Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia there, and essentially repeating what I just showed to you in words. Well, after he said this, addressing some party supporters, and the campaign has been ongoing ahead of that crucial flag bearer elections and the next 4 months ahead of the party. Kennedy Onye Japan, one other flag bearer hopeful, former Asin Central Member of Parliament, has hit back strongly at this statement made by Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, and here it is. We'll put that on the screen right now, is responding directly to Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. He says, over 1.7 million vote loss. Dr. Bawumia says it wasn't the flag bearer, religion, or tribe. He knows this because of the Michael Quay's report, which only he seems to have read. So, since you are the sole custodian of the truth in this said report, please enlighten us. It is not my fault. At the end, essentially, responding directly to what Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia said. Now, this is Kennedy Ohene Japan's position, that to the extent that he and the other flag bearer hopefuls have not seen this Michael Quay report, which, according to him, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is the only one who seems to have read it, then they should be enlightened. The others who have not read the report should be enlightened. And here's where we want to have a conversation on this, really, and how things are playing out and shaping up ahead of that flag bearer elections for the new Patriotic Party. And this is not the first time that Kennedy Japan, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, and in some cases even Brian Champong have hit at each other in various forms. Professor Samuel Edujemfi is a political historian, a senior lecturer at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, joining us on Zoom. Professor Edujemfi, good evening. Thank you very much for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. And if you can unmute for me. And now you hear Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia in what I just played to you and what I showed to our viewers as well. He says, well, I am not to blame for this over 1.7 million vote loss in 2024 presidential election. And I'm not saying this. The Professor Michael Quay report, fact-finding committee report, in fact, it confirms this. Oseche Mensah Bonsu's committee report also confirmed that I am not the one who caused the party's defeat. So why blame me, essentially? That's the question he's asking, Prof.
Thank you very much, my brother. The truth is that it's all about leadership. The party's campaign for the election was organized by the flag bearer. He had his own communication machinery, and he had his own, if you like, sectors or sections that held specific, if you like, portfolios to push or drive the campaign. And so we have what we call ultimate responsibility. The collective efforts of these people culminated into the defeat, but that was superintended by the flag bearer, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. It is also clear to add that he represents the face, or represented the MPP as the face of the party, the flag bearer, offering the kind of leadership that would lead them to the kind of defeat they experienced. 1.7 million votes. It leads us into whether he was a likable candidate. He was a candidate that was competitive enough comparatively when it comes to the former president, now the president, Mahama. Whether he had the capacity to be able to contest him boot for boot in that regard in all sectors and departments that Ghanaians were measuring up to in terms of the economy, in terms of the state of affairs that the country found itself. And so fundamentally, the candidate Bawumia could not match up the candidature of Mr. Mahama, President Mahama. That was a critical question to look at. Again, he was a candidate who had just served as the flag bearer and was serving as the flag bearer even during the period of the contest. And that all the failures of the government were not only attributable to Mr. Akufo-Addo, the former president, His Excellency, but also it was attributed to the vice president, who was part of the cabinet, and for that matter, who served as the economic guru of the party, and for that matter, the part of the executive head administering the state. The people of Ghana did not insulate him from President Akufo-Addo. They did not insulate him from the failures of the MPP as a party and from the failures of the MPP in government. And I've said that the level of recklessness that, if you like, characterized the leadership of the MPP as a party and also the MPP as a party that had formed government was unprecedented within the period under review. He goes into elections with such lack of confidence, lack of capacity, and lack of acceptance from the people themselves. And so what we see as the outcome of the results, 1.7 million difference, is the fact that the MPP's leadership, superintended by Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, could not present a right message. The history within the period under review did not add anything positive to what they were calling for the people of Ghana to give them a third term. And more so, candidate Mahmoud Bawumia, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, was not a candidate that was likable within the period under review. The question is that, are the people of this country going to overlook the ills that are tied to him in terms of the kind of governance he and Mr. Akufo-Addo offered to Ghana? Are Ghanaians going to overlook that when he's giving the nod as the flag bearer of the MPP the second term? Again, how is he going to be able to show up his performance to be able to get 1.7 million votes and cross to be able to win the elections? We need to also ask the question whether within the internal schisms of the party, the challenges within the party, the misgivings of the people, the divisions within the party, which continues to rise, how is he able to offer that leadership to unite the people? Indeed, some have argued that the level of divisiveness today has risen to the apex because of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia's posture and how he's allowed the people around him to attack persons like Kennedy Ejapon and the others. It was shirking of responsibility, refusing to, admit guilt, and rather place the failures of the party on other persons instead of accepting the rule of ultimate responsibility. Such lack of leadership in this scheme, where he refuses to accept the fact that there is ultimate responsibility and is the one who should be blamed and not any other person or the team he put together or his own abysmal performance whilst in government and also in conducting or mobilizing forces, marshalling forces for the election. Whilst refusing to do this, he is exhibiting the tendency of an individual who lacks capacity to lead. Because
I see.
Within the realm of ultimate responsibility, what you must do is admission of guilt.
But then,
mea culpa.
But Prof, he doesn't speak in oblivion. Okay, he references the Professor Aaron Michael Quay report, and then also the Oseche Mensah Bonsu report. In fact, Professor Aaron Michael Quay's report was a fact-finding committee's report that, according to the party, went around engaging all the persons within and without, ordinary Ghanaians as well. And they came to that conclusion, according to Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, because we haven't seen the details of this report. He says that conclusion is that he was not to ultimately blame for the party's monumental defeat in the presidential election. So that's the context in which he speaks, on the basis of his knowledge of the Aaron Michael Quay Committee's report, Prof.
I will tell you this. Ghanaians are getting better. Ghanaians are growing. Insofar as our democratic culture is concerned, Ghanaians are looking for pragmatism. They are looking for charismatic leaders. They are looking for servant leaders and leaders that are willing to be able to turn things around for this country, and not individuals who shirk their responsibilities and blame others and other circumstances. And I think that the MPP must begin to reflect on some of these wayward comments that we are beginning to hear. We as a people of this country must begin to also look at the broader macro analysis of leadership, and what we deserve is better than the kind of narrative we hear come up within the MPP. It's quite challenging, and to an extent sometimes also even too nauseating. And I hope and pray that I will not be hearing some of these things time and again. If a leader cannot accept ultimate responsibility and he feels that it is the cause of others, what are the details of Michael Okwei's report, Professor Okwei's report? Why was he not able to fix those loopholes or gaps or challenges that are seen in Okwei's report as having culminated or led to the, if you like, the defeat of the MPP? What efforts did he make to resolve some of these questions? Or, as he's been elusive, these questions or quandary or challenges were also elusive to him, and that the forces he put together were not able to investigate enough to ascertain what were the challenges, at least a SWOT analysis, strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats that were existent within the period under review. So they walked like blindfolded men into the elections. Is that what they are saying? And that they were, if you like, it was not clear in their minds in some of the indicators or elements or items that are seen to have caused the defeat of the MPP. Were they not glaring enough? These are matters I've talked about, yes, since 2015 up till now. It's a shame that the MPP itself is now setting aside science. It is setting aside, the science of election, the science of politics, and it's talking about something else. The truth of the matter is that what efforts did he put in place to properly engineer a process, fashion out a strategy that would have dealt with these gaps? Because they ought to have done a SWOT analysis in the first instance. And if that was not done,
I see. But then again, you also, because you are in the academia and political analysts for that matter, had some of your colleagues make the point that the outcome of the 2024 election was a referendum on the Akufo-Addo-led government. Obviously, what we Dr. Mahmoud was part of, but the face of that government was Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, and it was a referendum on his leadership and governance. How about that?
I have said over time that His Excellency, the former President, Mr. Akufo-Addo, was not able to please the Ghanaian populace. Made a lot of promises, and a lot of these promises, the NDC in particular, and several Ghanaians believe that they were not only whispered through the whistlings of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, but the euphoria and the excitement he added to the campaign within those times when they were looking, referred to him as an economic messiah, Wizkid, and all that. A lot of names were given to him, and some have said that the victory came to the MPP and for that matter to Mr. Akufo-Addo, the former president, His Excellency, because of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. They believed that he had a certain magic wand to be able to, through a certain abracadabra movement, turn the fortunes of Ghana around. And that was going, they were going to hit the bull's eye through the technical efforts or know-how of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. Over time, it said that this gentleman, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, the gentleman in question, the former vice president, was pushed to the periphery because it was a friends and family government that was set in place by Mr. Akufo-Addo, which sought to, if you like, repudiate or denounce or reject Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and any other kind of leadership he sought to offer. Among other things, it said that he was even unhappy about the, the e-levy, right? And that he had protested privately to no avail. There were things he had tried to question and challenge, but he could not have his way. His opponents or critics have said that, look, why is it that whilst all these things were going on, you did not bring it up openly and challenge your own government and say that if my government continues this way, I will not be part of this government and I'll choose to resign even as a vice president. Because that in itself also, some have said, also defines your personality and the kind of leadership you can offer the party and the country. Because several right leaders, well-meaning Ghanaians, who are placed in positions, sensitive positions, like he was placed, would resign when they believe that their ideas were not respected. My own uncle, Professor Stephen Adair, the former rector of GIMPA, was placed on one of the boards, you remember, some years ago. He felt that things were going on. He did not agree with, those positions, and he left. Several well-meaning Ghanaians who were given some portfolios here and there from time to time sought to leave. You saw the contestations and the battles between Ocansey and the former president. You remember those two. So there are challenges that would come up from time to time where a leader, so to speak, would feel that ethically, morally, the ethics of leadership and my own personal ethics would not allow me to play a part in a role.
This particular reference has gone on.
Who have given you a social contract.
Exactly. And then, look, how things are playing out and shaping up in this flag bearer race is one to watch. And, well, Kennedy Agyapong is the only one amongst the 5 who has responded to this position as put out by Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. We'll see how the coming days will look like on this, because the party is still in the process of, as it were, remolding, diagnosing the laws and re-strategizing as they go into this flag bearer race. But this is Ghana Tonight. Professor Samuel Edu-Gyamfi, thank you for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. He is a political analyst and lecturer at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. Thank you for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. But coming up next, we go straight back to a number of things that the president said yesterday during that engagement with the media. And labor unions, and that's coming up next, they've pushed back the single spine pay policy and the fire for shortchanging public workers. Now, we'll hear from Labour, and this is on the back of the president's own acknowledgement of the shortcomings of the single spine pay policy. Organised Labour has backed the calls by the president, John Dramani Mahama, to review the single spine pay policy to reflect the current state of affairs in the labour market in this country. This is what the president said yesterday in response to a question that a journalist asked of him. Take a look.
With regards to remuneration, I would say that it's not only journalists in the state-owned media who are dissatisfied with their salaries. Public service salaries are not living wages. I agree with the TUC that we must work towards a living wage. All of us are dissatisfied with the salary we get as public servants. The private sector offers better remuneration, but that's why we have to work together to grow the national cake so that we can pay ourselves better. And that is why there's agitation for cancellation of Article 71 in the Constitution, because we all must feel the pinch so that we can grow things together. But when you cushion a certain constitutional class and they have more cushy remuneration than the other people, then it creates a kind of discrimination between public service. And so our advocacy has been for an independent emoluments commission that would deal with the salaries and wages of all persons in the public sector so that we grow those wages together. In our first incarnation under Professor Mills, we established a single spine salary structure. And that salary structure was supposed to uniform out wages in the public sector so that the disparity will not be too wide. So if you are a secretary in GBC compared to a secretary in, say, Bank of Ghana, there will not be that very wide disparity. Unfortunately, the single spine atonsum, because of the inability to maintain the discipline in public sector wages. Over the last 8 years, the group that is able to strike the most gets more addition to their wages than those that don't go on strike. And so
Game is a labor expert, is joining us right now on the telephone. Mr. Game, good evening. Thank you for joining us on Ghana Tonight.
Right.
Hello.
Yeah, good evening, Alfred.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your time. Now, you hear the president, he has a clear understanding of the problem with the single spine pay policy in its current form. They're talking about a review to better reflect the current state of affairs. Which areas should be of notice and focus for the way forward?
Thank you once again. I think that the main ingredient in the statement made by the president yesterday is about growing the economy together so that we can now be in a position to have a better distribution curve. I think that salary administration in this country has been very poor. Indeed, the private sector is no exception. They have a similar problem, not because the pay is not enough, but because the system we have adopted is unproductive. And so I agree with him, except that we must respond positively to what the labor law says, and what the economic condition of the country, the circumstance we find ourselves in, will have to inform how this salary administration will be run. But I totally agree that we have to have an overhaul completely of the kind of notches system that we have into a better kind of a broadband salary structure and pay people based on productivity. I think that way everybody will earn a proper living wage if you contribute towards the growth of the economy.
And you talk about the remuneration based on productivity. The question has been how productivity should be measured, especially in the public sector. That's been a debacle, is it not? Because at some point, we had a president make the position that public sector workers pretend to be working, the government pretends to be paying. That has evolved, and we have seen the element of how to measure productivity in the public sector. How should that be done, if that's the proposal that you're looking at going forward?
Well, it's simple but not simpler. This was discussed extensively even during the economic forum. I was present, and I think if you recall, at the main plenary session of the economic forum held at the International Conference Center, that was very visible. That was plainly stated. It was one of the main core at the end of the session. So it can be measured. There is a way to do it. There is a way to design the structure. There is a way to ensure that the policies are coherent, to ensure that the objectives will be set by the various boards or commissions, and the strategies to apply will be there, and everybody will be given a portion of his or her assignment. There is a procedure or a criteria to judge whether you have achieved it, and it won't be done at the tail end. It will have to be done at least half yearly or every quarter. So at the end of the day, people will be paid and paid properly, not this mushroom of allowances. We pay people a proper pay, jettisoning almost all the allowances as was civilizedly done during Rawlings' time before we move into the democracy, and everybody will be free, and the nation will pay people for their contribution towards the growth of the economy. It's very simple. I admit it's not simpler.
Then how do we determine what will be living realistic wages as against what is being paid now?
Let's assume that there's a projection by the Minister of Finance that we are going to have an income surplus of, if you like, call it profit, or an income surplus of about, let's say, 5 million or 5 billion Ghana cedis at the end of the year. That is the projection. The nation has achieved it. Inherent in that projection will be a scenario, because we will have a broadband salary structure. It will be attractive and more of a living wage, so that people can be paid if you contribute your quota, the allotment given to you during the time of KPI, or if you like target setting. If you achieve it, it will be that there will be a criteria. We will not be, as a nation, be looking at personalities who may have issues with one another to be the one using their own judgment. There will be a criteria that will be issued out, and it will be followed religiously and clinically. So nobody will cheat anybody. That's the way I envisage it should be done. Any other way, well, we'll be running in circles, and there'll be no Muhammad to come and talk about it again. I think this is the time we have to do it, and do it well.
So much for joining us. Austin Gama is a labor expert. This is Ghana Tonight. We're live also on 3FM 92.7. Let's just stay a bit further with what the president said in response to some questions asked of him. That's coming up next. That's the update on the oral cases. That's coming up next here on Ghana Tonight. The president, John Dramani Mahama, yesterday gave updates on the cases that have been investigated so far by the Attorney General regarding the Operation Recover All Loot, as oral preparatory team's report that was submitted to him, which he also forwarded to the Attorney General, and a number of cases now being prosecuted. After President Mahama's oral update, hope rising or otherwise. So there are concerns as well, but let's dig into it. Here's the president giving details of the current state of the oral cases being investigated and prosecuted by the Attorney General so far. Take a look.
My friends, I understand that public accountability and the recovery of looted state resources are at the top of your expectations from my government. And let me assure you, my fellow citizens, that we've not wavered in our commitment for even a moment. Neither have we been complacent. What you are witnessing is not inaction, it is our steadfast adherence to due diligence, due process, and fairness in the pursuit of justice. Yes, our insistence on doing things the right way may afford those who have looted this country some temporary relief, but let me be clear, it will not grant them permanent escape. Across multiple fronts, active pursuits and prosecutions are well underway under the Operation Recover All the Loot. Over 200 cases are under active investigation, with about 80 people interrogated so far. Several prosecutions have begun, progressing steadily and remaining firmly on course. In the Republic versus Edubuan and 3 others, the state has submitted witness statements together with all other documents, and trial has commenced. and the first of 3 prosecution witnesses have been called and have been cross-examined by counsel for the accused person. With the SkyTrain case, for instance, the prosecutors have secured a trial date, as all preliminary matters have been concluded and the trial is set to commence. For the National Service Authority case, due to its expansive nature, charges have been drafted and will be filed as soon as the legal year begins against the following person: the Republic versus Osei Sibe, the Republic versus Eric Nyako, the Republic versus Gifty Owari. Also for the National Cathedral, we are awaiting a forensic audit from the Auditor General. Additionally, charges have been drafted and are ready for filing in the case of Republic versus Wuntumi and Akunta Mining. The Economic and Organized Crime Office, EOCO, is finalizing its report with respect to Exim Bank transactions. Dockets are in preparation for the buffer stock case and the drip equipment case. Investigations are ongoing into the African Cup of Nations case, the Mart Set case, and approximately 20 other cases currently. Let me be clear, every single case of corruption that needs to be investigated is being looked into. And once evidence is found to ground the prosecution, that will happen and happen swiftly.
In 2018, I started preaching how you can earn money online. In 2020...
Well, that's the president giving updates on the oral cases and that have been investigated and the updates so far as well going forward. But on the matter of the Wuntumi and Akunta Mining case that he talked about, this excavator invasion was topical during the president's engagement as well with the media yesterday, and getting to know the number of excavators that prior to yesterday when we met the president, the transport minister himself had indicated that over 1,200 excavators had been impounded at the Tema port. And per the intelligence that he has as transport minister, over 3,000 excavators were on the high seas en route to Ghana. And in fact, the figures don't lie. It reflects what the transport minister's concerns are. This is a research put together by Y. Safo and the research team here at Media Journal, and this is it. The global position when it comes to excavators, in terms of the countries that import the most excavators, it doesn't say anything different. Ghana, as of 2023, spent over $205 million importing excavators into this country. And we were ranked the first in West Africa. We were importing excavators. Nigeria followed with 94 million. In terms of the Africa ranking, South Africa, number 1. You can understand, you see, even the large mining companies use excavators. But then again, at some point, as we're speaking, not too long ago, excavators had flooded the Tema port, such that the president explained yesterday that they had to move them to other locations to create space at the Tema ports. Because, think about it, over 1,200 is earth-moving equipment, excavators at the ports. Ghana, in terms of the excavators imports, we rank 10th most imported product in Ghana out of the 4,282 products categories. Excavator was number 10 in terms of our imports, 10th position. And on the global scale, we are the 34th largest importer of excavators globally. Well, what are we using them for? These are the top 5 suppliers of excavators to Ghana. You have it there: China, India, Belgium, Japan, South Korea. That's what's happening right now. We're going to go for a quick break. When we're back, get into a bit more and reactions to some of the updates that the president gave to the oral cases. Stay with us. Welcome back. This is Ghana Tonight. We're live on TV3 Ghana on Facebook and on 3FM 92.7 and also on TV3 Ghana on YouTube. Now, here the President, John Dramani Mahama, before we went for the break, gave updates on the current state of some oral investigations. And one of the cases he touched on was the one involving the Ashanti Regional Chair of the New Patriotic Party, Bernard Boysa, popularly known as Chairman Wontumi. And you know that he was at some point held by the Economic and Organized Crime Office, IOCO, and because he was unable to make the bail conditions, spent some time in the coolers of IOCO. And he's been sharing his experience of exactly what he went through in the IOCO cells, essentially saying that he came face to face with death and that he began seeing at that point his dead relatives. Take a look.
Baby, I call you in the Kuya. Me say, Minister, 2, 3, and I can see you. And I can see you, the cost straight, Fiasa. Not the same thing I can say. Now, I share baby. Chama to me the dark. I nearly died. We see them in quarter. Now, we are the I'm telling you, Obia Sawa, who and me more, push your form or not for more, or shall see some more. That's as a walk. And to me, Musabi, me Musabi, who will be a Tuaka. And no Sadia, yes, Christo, the true baby at Tina, or Tia Muka, Ali Sabatani. And you be and a chama to Mrs. So, Miss Mitiamu, I can't say Ghana for Musario, Ghana for Musario, Ghana for Musario, Ghana for Musario, and you tea and the MC. Another day.
Well, that's Chamawon to me there, but as we got some information in the past few days gone by, the Attorney General as well, when the legal vacation is over, Dennis Babarewadam indicated earlier in the week, these cases, some of them would also resume the hearings in the court of law. It's one that we're keeping close eyes on and how things unfold. I want to say thank you so much for staying with us here on Ghana Tonight. On behalf of the rest of the team, we do appreciate your company. I am Alfred Ocansey. Have a good night.
Ghana Tonight is brought to you by
Flamingo Paint. Superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage, simply superior.
Sasso insecticide spray and coil.